Hi friend, welcome to A Water Connection, a space created to learn, connect and multiply the power of a conversation to give visibility to the water industry. I'm Jess Borges, a passionate human who believes you should increase your water curiosity. Welcome to this new episode. Today, I'm virtually seated with Andrew Margetts. He has joined us here at Water Connection to talk about one part of the water sector that sometimes we don't think about, but at the same time is a key point of contact between us in the water sector and the community. Andrew is a business leader and a value creator with experience in different industries such as energy, renewables, technology, and utilities, including electricity and now water. With a background in finance and consulting, Andrew's passion is building great teams of people to deliver outstanding customer satisfaction while creating business value. He is currently the CEO of New Plumbing Solutions, or NPS. If I start saying that during the episode, that's what it means. A plumbing company that provides high quality, safety first plumbing maintenance and civil works for water and sewerage to government and commercial customers. Welcome to A Water Connection, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
Andrew, let us start with the basics. We talk of cameras, how companies like New Plumbing Solutions deliver water services to the community. What does that mean? What does it mean to deliver water services for water utilities?
Yeah, look, a lot of what we do as a business is really focused on making sure the water pipes in the ground and the pipes taking waste from the house work properly. So, there's having water is a right that we sometimes take for granted, just like having basic sort of sanitation services as well. So companies like ours maintain that infrastructure and make sure it works for the communities that we're part of. The other thing we do is we sort of help connect up new properties to water and to sewerage, and we do sort of minor upgrades of the networks as well, just to make sure they keep working.
Excellent. Yeah, that's clearly something that is very important. In connection to the wider sector, how do you interact, or what is the role of these type of companies interacting with the water sector and the rest of the other stakeholders that are there?
So, in any of these industries, and water is the same as power, is the same as any complex industry, there's a lot of very smart engineers that come up with the design and I guess the ideas about how these networks need to be built out so that they can serve the community. Companies like ours are actually involved in rolling those programs out and bringing them to life. So we're boots on the ground, trade-focused businesses, and we sort of take the plans of the engineers and we operationalise them. So that might be big rollout programs where parts of the water infrastructure are upgraded. It might be construction programs where it's built, and our businesses will help work with the engineering and asset management teams to operationalise and deliver the programs of work.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Touching on that, because you will have like a new company and people and your staff would have so much experience in rolling out these like things that I, as an engineer, probably helped designing. Is there any feedback that that you or someone in your company has had the opportunity to do into like, oh guys, you could do this way, or like come up with ideas to make it better?
Absolutely. I think a big part of NPS and what we do is we deal with the water authority's customers. So we do a lot of work around water metering, or it might be around connecting properties. Very regularly, the customers are the ones that are impacted, and our experience working with them might lead to a different way of sending communications out, maybe a time of day that programs are rolled out. It might even be, methodologies for rolling a project out to minimise customer impact are some of the ways that we feed back to engineers.
Yeah, that's very interesting because it's things in variables that you really are in touch all the time as you are out there in the field that maybe people, even within the water industry, might not that familiar. That was actually my next question. How is that interaction that you have with water utilities? You go out and you are well, you are kind of the face of the water utility. So do people know that you belong to a different company, or they think that you come straight from the water utility? I was curious about that.
Yeah, it sort of depends on who we work for. A lot of the time, we would be co-branded, so we would have our client's name on our uniform as well as MPS. Sometimes we'll just be MPS, and sometimes we'll be badged as the Water Authority. I think if we are working on water utility assets, generally customers would see us as part of the Water Authority, so an extension of. And if they aren't happy, they would know to complain to the Water Authority. And if they are happy equally, they might send positive feedback to the water company.
Yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, exactly. Based on what you're saying, like
Yeah,
companies like NPS are really the face of the water utility. As you
yeah,
say, that the customer might not even know that you are from a different company, and they never get to like experience or talk to any of the people that are talking, like that are working, particularly at the water community, at the water utility. Sorry.
yeah.
What would you say there are some things that companies like yours has learned about the community's perceptions around water? You mentioned, for example, that we take it for granted. Is there
Mm.
anything else that stands out that you, as being the company that is
Yeah.
in there with the community all the time, has learned?
Oh well, I think one thing we have learned is that water is very emotive. So people really rely on having water for pretty much every task day to day, be it washing dishes, clothes, you know, showering, watering the garden, cooking. Water is used all day, every day in every household, and as soon as that supply is compromised, there's a lot of emotion, and people don't understand at times why they might not have access to water, because they could well have had access to it every day of their lives up until the time that they don't. So um, probably our biggest learning is just the emotion that comes out of people when they don't have access to something that they do see as a right.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because we, as water professionals, we might be in a different part of the industry where we don't have that interaction with the
Mm.
community, and we can forget a bit of that big responsibility that we have as
Yeah.
providing that service from different angles. Like, I don't work in a water utility, but like, I do contribute towards in a different angle.
Mm.
That really, when it is not there, is going to affect the day to day of every single person.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's certainly something very interesting. In terms of the other thing that I found really interesting when I was reading about new plumbing solutions,
Mm.
and in addition to help us understand the role of these companies has in the industry, is regarding the shift towards technology. Like,
Mm.
we always talk within the industry how technology, we have to adopt technology for some of the designs, for some of the modeling things that I'm a bit more familiar. But how is technology helping companies like new plumbing solutions delivering services more efficiently?
There's a couple of parts to that, Jess. So there's a big part of what New Plumbing Solutions does is we help roll out technology that is transitioning water authorities from being analog businesses to digital businesses. So historically, there's very little real-time data outside of SCADA networks, or maybe some pressure monitoring at you know key positions on the network that provide feedback to the engineers about how the network's performing. What New Plumbing Solutions is doing is we're installing, digital water meters, so every house has real-time information on water usage, and also those meters might have pressure monitoring in them, so that the networks can get pressure information to help improve planning decisions, or to help better manage pressure internally with pumping as well, and where to move the water in real time rather than waiting for pressure to fall. We equally monitor sewer outflow, so we're proactively identifying surges, so that then that way there's a lot less environmental benefit, and those impacts are captured in real time as well. So maintenance can be completed, before there's large spills. So a big part of what our business does is, um, you know, install digital sensors for these networks to allow that real time use of data. Um, our business, using technology more effectively to actually try to roll out those programs, we use a lot of work around scheduling efficiencies, trying to bring in very efficient workflow processes, we capture a lot more accurate information in the field. And so we actually build an asset database as we're servicing and replacing assets. So then, water companies themselves know what assets they've got and where and what condition they're in as well. So sort of two parts. We install technology and then we build asset databases to help maintain assets more efficiently.
Yeah, certainly sounds like a win-win. Like for the customer, they would have once they have a digital meter, they will be able to just kind of like monitor their use of
Yeah,
water as it. I think it exists already for electricity as well. I don't have it particularly,
yeah,
but I know people with solar and things like it becomes a lot more important to start on top of your electricity
mm,
real-time consumption. So this
yep,
is kind of the counterpart of that in water. Excellent. Yeah. You were mentioning in the sewage side
mm,
about surges. Would you mind like giving us a little bit of for someone that might not be that familiar into why is that important?
yep.
Just to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, what can happen? Sewers can block. So things that aren't designed to go down to a sewer might end up in there. During high rain events, there could be a lot of stormwater which might make its way into sewers. So the flows will increase. Now, if there's a blockage, what will happen is that the waste won't get past that blockage point, and so it will sort of store up in the network and end up coming up manholes. So it will, just because of the pressure, it will overflow. So and that can cause quite a lot of environmental damage, and also a huge amount of reputational damage for water companies because a sewage spill is a
It's
pretty
probably
nasty
not
thing to have to
fun.
deal with. Yeah, so
Yeah.
so the type of technology that we might install, and we're doing a lot for Sydney Water and also running some trials for Yarra Valley Water as well, is to install sensors in the manhole that are activated when the water actually surges above a certain level. Now, generally, a surcharge will happen gradually. So if the sensor's tripped, it actually will send an alarm to a crew who can then go and try to unblock the sewer before there's a spill. So we install them, in Sydney Water as an example, we're installing well over 20,000 of those manhole sensors so that Sydney Water can control and eliminate the environmental impact of sewer surcharge.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Although I would imagine if you have like a storm and all of them start going off at the
Yeah.
same time, that would be a pretty busy time with for the crew of
Yeah.
New Plumbing Solutions.
Oh, look, absolutely. And I think, sometimes having more information can be an issue because you're right, all the alarms can trip at the same time. But generally, if you maintain assets, and a lot of what we try to do is provide data which actually allows for proactive maintenance so that there's less reactive issues. And that's definitely the mindset which is shifting in all industries, be it water companies or larger owners of, plumbing or any type of asset, that proactive maintenance is the best way to eliminate the reactive issues.
Definitely, yeah. I think the switch from reactive to proactive is something that we all have as a goal. Is just putting it down and making it happen. It really requires a lot of technology and like a lot of support from other companies such as yourself, like New Plumbing Solutions. Is there any other like angle that you can think of? Because I had one question here that is how can all these learnings from the field in data help the water utility? So we talk about,
Mm.
for example, the real time of like water consumption. How could that be another layer on top of SCADA, which is normally more not as high frequency or not as frequent measurement of water and is more at the pump stations, while
Yep.
these we're talking like at every single user. What other learnings do you think the data that you guys are rolling out can provide insights for water utilities?
I think there's a few different parts of that. So um, there's an enormous amount of unaccounted for leaks in water networks because there is no real time data. So we've been in a period of time in Australia where there is an abundance of water, and potentially we're moving into drought where water conservation will become a lot more important for water companies. The data that we're rolling out, particularly smart water meters, digital water meters, they will identify where there's a constant flow in a property over a long period of time, which would indicate a leak. So, being able to identify that will allow customers to then manage the leaks, and which will in turn, help to reduce water wastage, because it is such a valuable resource.
Yeah, definitely. That's close to my heart because I worked with leaks when
Yeah.
I was doing my PhD. So
Yeah.
it's definitely is a problem that is always on top of my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we're actually on that, Jess. I mean, it's really interesting. We're finding 10% of properties have a constant leak,
yeah,
of
wow.
all properties that are getting digital water meters. Now, they might not be large leaks. It might be as simple in a residential house as a constantly leaking cistern, but there are instances where there are very, very large leaks that people don't know about because they
Yeah,
might be discharging straight into a drain. So 1 in 10 properties. It's amazing to think about
that is
what
amazing.
the data will be able to help drive, and the change in water consumption once we actually roll out these sort of real time sensors.
Absolutely. Like, and especially with buried kind of pipelines and
Yep.
everything, we just simply wouldn't see it. And it could have all sorts of other issues down the line as well. So yeah, it's very interesting that rollout of like digital meters and like, yeah, hopefully it keeps rolling and like
Yeah.
in a few years time it's just the mainstream. We all have that and we can all as consumers have it and like I think it'll give us also as community like a sense of how much water we consume because at the moment is a bit hidden into like into the bills that we might get, which is like a total volume we did a quarter that might mean something to the people in this industry, but general community might struggle to see what that means. Well, if you have an app or if you have something that is really showing you what you're doing, it could definitely help in that shifting in behavior in the water
Yep.
consumption as well.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you think is the biggest challenge that companies that deliver water services such as
Mm.
new plumbing solutions is currently facing?
I think for us, a big challenge is attracting staff to the industry. Traditionally, there's been a lot of people trained to work in the water industry when they were state and government owned businesses that would come in and get very secure long term jobs and stay in the industry for a long time. People who work for us are not just plumbers. There's a lot of specialist trades that would learn how to work on water networks and get qualifications in that space. Um, to help maintain the assets that are now leaving the industry. And so replenishing that talent is key. We do use a lot of plumbers as well, and we focus on training our people really well. But I think just learning the skills that are specific to water networks is probably our biggest challenge, just as the people that have done it for a long time are starting to retire.
Yeah, and I think you touch on something we worried about that in the water sector widely, like getting skilled people that can work in this sector when there are other sectors that might be more attractive, like to
Mm.
young people that might want to go into other things. But this is exactly when it happens also at the level of like delivering the service and making some of those trade kind of jobs that require not only the trade jobs skills, but on top of that is more specialized because it's for water networks and for sewerage. So yeah, that
Yeah.
certainly I can resonate with that. And what would you be your message for young water professionals that might be listening to this right now? What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, I think the water industry is at a really exciting tipping point where it's going from analog to digital. So I think there's a huge opportunity for bright young people to actually make a meaningful change in the industry by helping to roll out technology that allows real time information and then interpret that information to make really good quality planning decisions and sort of asset optimization decisions that improve the availability of water and sanitation services for the long term, particularly in Australia with a population boom coming and being a real destination country. I feel like there's this enormous opportunity to drive positive change.
Absolutely. And I think it's that cross between like all the skills that we might have from the water industry, but how do we learn also all the skills that are required to handle all that data and like to just make good use of that is going to be a big challenge for us in the future.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And just to wrap up, Andrew, why do you work in the water industry? I was really curious, like, because you
Yeah.
have had a career like in many other areas.
Yeah.
Why do you work in this industry?
When I was working in the energy industry, I used to buy and sell businesses. And I bought a business in the water industry and ran it for a little bit of time. I'd wanted to have my own business, and so I bought into MPS. And the person I'm in business with is actually the person whose business I'd previously bought. So
Yeah.
it's an industry I know, and I'm working with people that I trust, and I feel like I can make a difference. I feel like there's this opportunity to replenish the industry with great people doing interesting work, and yeah, I guess it really helped me scratch an entrepreneurial itch as well, because there's great opportunity out there to grow businesses and to make money in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's an angle that we haven't touched on any of the episodes so far. And is like that entrepreneurial and like business side of things into making it a reality in a sector like ours. And certainly working in a sector that contributes a lot, and that connection that you transmit when you're talking about what NPS does with the community, I think is definitely making the difference into like doing those water services to people. Yeah. Well, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Andrew, for
Pleasure.
joining us in this conversation. Really, you gave us insights on a sector, a part of the sector that we might not be that aware of day to day, but is such a key part. With mixed with this entrepreneurial side, like is really a wonderful opportunity to have had this chat with you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Jess.
And to you, my friend, thank you very much for joining and for tuning in and listening to this our Water Connection episode. I hope you enjoyed the ride and everything that Andrew shared with us. Follow us on LinkedIn as our Water Connection to hear all the updates and new episodes coming. So see you next time.